The View going bye-bye. This is what we've been waiting for, right? Well, Joy Behar let it slip. They're on the show today, and somehow she said, oh, we've got one more show until we're on a hiatus. The White House is weighing in, saying, yeah, we think this show's going to go the way of Colbert. Let's play you the clip, and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
And before we go on hiatus, we only have one more show after this. I'm allowed to say that, right?
Too late now.
So it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to tell people that the tide is turning. The tide is turning, and things are changing. I mean, the ultimate irony would be that Rupert Murdoch will take him down.
Yeah.
Fox News, who created the monster, will take him down.
Oh, that's interesting. So the hiatus thing, they often take a break in the summer. It's like the greatest gig in news, right? Because they go away for like the whole month of August, right? So they don't have any new shows. They go into old programming. I don't really know how you do that because it is supposed to be a news show. But nonetheless, they're all going bye-bye for a while. The question is, do they come back? Don Jr. weighed in on this on social media today, saying, oh, wouldn't it be great if they didn't come back? And then you had actually the White House weighing in on it. I want to touch on what they said vis-a-vis Rupert Murdoch and Fox in just a moment, too. But look at what the White House said. Here we go. In a statement to Fox News Digital, White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers called out the show's ratings and suggested it could be pulled off the air if Behar didn't stop attacking Trump. Joy Behar is an irrelevant loser. Gosh, sounds like he's channeling the big guy, huh? Irrelevant loser suffering from a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. It is no surprise that The View's ratings hit an all-time low last year. She should self-reflect on her own jealousy of President Trump's historic popularity before her show is the next to be pulled off the air. So that's kind of an interesting comment, a heck of a dig, right? Coming out of the White House. But look, the White House really can't stand the show because the show has been wildly irresponsible. I mean, I can't stand the show either. I don't think you guys can stand it. We did a whole thing on this the other day about how it makes all the sense in the world to get rid of the show. And if Bob Iger's smart, he's the CEO of Disney, he's actually going to take this opportunity and say, okay, well, look what happened with Colbert. It doesn't even matter, like, if the ratings are okay. You hear the press person citing last year's ratings. The ratings, as I understand it, have been somewhat stabilized this year, but it doesn't matter because Colbert apparently had the highest ratings, but he was still losing $30-40 million a year. You can't operate. You can't stay in business as a show if you're losing that much. And the kind of show that The View is, where everybody's got such a huge salary, right? You got to pay Whoopi, you got to pay Joy, you got to pay Sonny, who I'm sure is trying to cost more every single day. Ana Navarro, I don't know so much about the others and what they would be making, but when it all adds up, it adds up to a fairly hefty amount. Plus you get staffs for each one of them. And then you get the live studio audience and the people that manage the live studio audience. Before it's all said and done, you're talking about a heck of a lot of money. And so are the economics really worth it? I think a lot of advertisers are saying, you know, I don't really want to be on that show right now, because it has become so toxic. And given that toxic atmosphere, it's really not appropriate for my products, etc. So I wouldn't be surprised. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this show went away. We've talked about that for a while, really and truly for good, because there's no reason for it to be on. But she said something else, which I think is important to listen to again. She seems to think that Rupert Murdoch is going to be the one to take down one Donald Trump. Rather interesting. Is this not what I talked about the other day? Because you had some Rupert-backed talent out there knocking him and demanding the Epstein files, et cetera, et cetera. Listen to her again.
And before we go on hiatus, we only have one more show after this. I'm allowed to say that, right?
Too late now.
So it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Before we go, I wanted to tell people that the tide is turning. The tide is turning, and things are changing. I mean, the ultimate irony would be that Rupert Murdoch will take him down.
Yeah.
Fox News, who created the monster, will take him down.
Did you hear that? So, the Wall Street Journal came out with that letter the other day, the letter that they didn't actually have possession of, that apparently they allegedly hadn't even seen, and yet they did this big report and talked about this letter, this birthday card wish that was really neither here nor there, but suggested that Trump and Epstein had some kind of friendship. And it was interesting to me that it was the Wall Street Journal that was willing to go there, right, on kind of shoddy reporting. Because to me, you ought to have a copy of the letter. For sure. I mean, that's just kind of basic. As a journalist, we started this show talking about financing and, money going to Iran. And in one case, some of the reporting I had done involved money going from South America, the tri-border region of South America where Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil meet, to Hezbollah. And Nasrallah had sent a thank you note to one of the people involved and suspected of being a financier of this stuff. And I had a copy of the letter, okay? And I broadcast the copy of the letter because one should have a physical copy of if you don't have the original, at least for goodness sakes, see the original and get a copy. But the Wall Street Journal didn't have that. So what's the Wall Street Journal doing? What is Rupert Murdoch up to? Think about some of the people that came out demanding that we get these Epstein files. Who was it? Well, it was a couple of talents that actually, interestingly, now have their podcasts sold by Rupert Murdoch. Past talents of Fox. Kind of incestuous, don't you think? Because the company that's selling their podcasts was actually bought by Rupert Murdoch. And now Rupert is selling the advertising for their shows after he fired one and got rid of the other. And now they're out there saying, hey, we want this. Well, they're going to get it. James Comer said August 11th is the date. We're going to hear from Maxwell, see what she has to say. But I don't actually think this is going to take him down. I actually would recommend you go back and listen to yesterday's show where we played Dershowitz's interview in which he said there's no current politician that is involved in any of this, that a lot of the judges had sealed this stuff and they didn't want the information coming out. In fact, as recently as yesterday, a couple of judges said, no, we don't want this coming out. And Trump's like, to heck with it. You know what? I'm just going to blow the whole thing wide open and I don't care who goes down because I'm sick of you guys trying to push this innuendo with me, just like you did with Russia. The similarities are kind of amazing. And I think that's perhaps what Joy is trying to get at there. Joy Behar, when she's saying, oh, it's the Wall Street Journal, it's Rupert Murdoch that's going to take him down. It wouldn't be Fox, interestingly, because, Fox learned its lesson after 2020. And before you knew it, you had Martha McCallum having to move to 2 p.m. because her 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever she was on, her show was getting creamed by Newsmax. And so they knew that the base was not with it. So they're going to have to be very careful there. But they can do it in other ways. You see, they can use their podcasts. They can use the Wall Street Journal. They can use these other mechanisms to go after Donald Trump. Whether or not it succeeds, let me just say my money's on Trump more than it is on Rupert Murdoch. I'm not suggesting Murdoch's not a smart and sly guy, but I do think that Trump has shown us over and over again, he emerges from all of these things unscathed. Just look at the latest poll numbers. It's really kind of striking and amazing. Remember, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff.